For the third time, I drove from Mingwan to Diking Along. When I got in the car, I stood still next to the door and stared dead at the road map on the door. At that moment, a middle-aged man came up to me and stood beside me, also facing the door. He was wearing a red jacket, a flat black hat on his head, and a mask to keep his face out of sight. I brought my eyes back to the road map. Stand inside and don't get too close to the door. The deep voice rang out, and I was lightly tugged back a little. He pulls me sideways, and I see the cuff on his other arm with the train logo. It was the train safety officer. Thinking about the weird thing that had just happened, I was hesitant to ask when he'd withdrawn his hand and taken a step to the side, leaning against the wall and lowering his eyes. It always felt like he wasn't a particularly enthusiastic person, so I'd better forget it. I'll try again. The train was getting faster and faster, and I was standing on the sidelines again. The clicking and worry of the air vents above my head and the connection between the carriages mingling and clogging up my ears like I couldn't hear anything else in the carriage, just a vague clink in my pocket. The wind is so strong, ... I held down my wind-blown hair with one hand and held the wall with the other, as flashing little red dots jumped in my eyes. The strings in my head went taut as the red extinguished and then crossed the middle station like a baton being handed over to the third baton. It didn't stop. It really didn't stop. My raised voice drew a glance from the conductor. I hurriedly asked him, "Was there a stop missing?" "You saw it, right?" I was so excited that the force in my hand increased with the question. He used some force to wrench his arm away from my hand. His eyes were puzzled and wary. "This passenger, please calm down." "No, I didn't mean anything by it. Look." I hurriedly stepped back a bit and reached out my hand to gesture on the route. "Just now when I got on the bus, you even pulled me a bit. You have the impression." "Right. When I got on the bus, it was at Mingwan Station, and now the bus is parked here." I pointed to the Yuyangman Station. "Where's the middle? The middle, docking along." "Why didn't it stop?" I tapped the name of the station in the middle as hard as I could, and I explained to him that I needed an explanation too. "I want to get off at this station. I want to get off at Docking-yan." My voice got louder and louder. He was a staff member. He had an obligation to me. He looked at me quizzically for a moment, then reassured, "Don't disturb the others. We can get off first." He didn't believe me. He thought I was mentally ill. Why? The car just skipped Docking-yan. I just wanted to get off at Docking-yan. His grip on the pager grew tighter and tighter, while gesturing for me to get off the bus with him. I stared at him angrily, resisting in silence. He took out his truncheon, his eyes serious, and the truncheon tapped on the wall of the car. Just then, there was a sudden commotion in the carriage. Then a woman's shriek rang out. "Let go! Let go!" It was the woman in the short skirt. Almost all the clothes were gone from her body as the man yanked him by the hair and dragged her out of the carriage between me and the safety officer. I took a deep breath to calm myself, and I said to the safety officer, "I haven't been drinking, and I'm sober. I just want to ask why we didn't stop at the station along the Diking." We both got off the train and to avoid him escorting me right off, I had to explain what I meant. There is no such stop. There is nothing wrong with the route of our train. I don't understand what you are talking about. He was finally willing to talk to me instead of staring at me with a stiff face. But what he said didn't convince me at all, and before he could say anything, I continued to ask, "Then why do you have this stop written on it? It has to stop. You got on the bus from Mingwan Station. I saw you. And now we are getting off at Yuyangman. So, you are taking the bus for one stop in total. Do you understand what I'm saying?" He replied word for word. No matter how I explained, this was the answer I got. After a long argument, my mouth was already dry, but he still refused to change. I crouched against the wall and held my head, thinking there must be something wrong somewhere. If I sat back down now, would it still be the same stop? I don't want to be here again. Maybe I can get out. As soon as the thought popped into my head, I immediately stood up. Maybe I got up too hard. My head buzzed. And over the ringing in my ears, I heard him say, "You might be remembering it wrong. Think again." When I opened my eyes again after a moment's reprieve, the conductor was nowhere to be seen. I don't care about him. I look ahead at the lift. Just go up, get out. It's all good. I went to the escalator, couldn't wait for it to run slowly, and jogged straight up, following the landmarks of the lift. When it came to an end, it was the stairs going down. Do not make him think. Fast step down the stairs. This. I froze in place. In front of me is not the exit. Not even check the ticket area and service desk. See the ghost? This is the waiting area. The yellow security line on both sides of the ground. The blackened tunnel reminds me that I'm back in the same place. No, it couldn't be. How was it back again? I came down the last staircase and kept looking back and forth at the tunnels on either side. Just train tunnels, no more. Was I going the wrong way? I started to doubt myself as I ran quickly forwards to the other end. There was no way out. I was bent over with my hands propped up on my knees, my chest heaving violently. I looked down and gasped for air. Sweat began to drip down from my head. In front of me was the lift, the one that had just gone up. Undeterred, after another round trip, I sat paralyzed on the stairs, my blouse looking like it had been washed in water. I was trapped in the station. At that moment, the phone in my pocket suddenly vibrated. Yes, I could call the police. I could call for help. Scratching off the pop-up window on the screen, I dialed 110. After a beep, the mobile phone came as if the voice of salvation. I was ecstatic and busily responded, "Hello, I'm stuck in an underground station. I'm at Yuyangmen Station. I can't get out, ... Single quotes. All the high emotions fell into my stomach with the words I didn't finish. The surroundings became quiet again. My hand inexplicably became weak and hung down with the mobile phone. Only the mobile phone has been repeated. "Hello, this is the 110 police service desk. How can I help you?" "Hello, this is the 110 alarm service desk. May I ask ... As long as I thought about the words I hadn't finished, I couldn't raise my hand. What's going on? I yelled into the phone, "Can you hear me? I'm stuck in an underground station. I can't get out." I was answered by the same words over and over again. "Hello, this is 110. How can I help you?" I hung up, redialed, hung up, redialed. It didn't work. The person on the other end still only repeated the same sentence. I dialed other numbers, some for help, some for friends, but invariably, the person on the other end of the line seemed to be programmed to repeat the first sentence of the call mechanically. I heard 2 trains pass, and I was still lying where I was. Was it possible to be dreaming? I pinched myself hard. If it was a crime like a kidnapping, it couldn't have just left me here. Maybe some kind of opportunity was needed. Some clue needed to be found. After getting wet with sweat, my clothes slowly dried a bit, and I pressed myself against the cold floor and began to recall the details around me.